So how was your weekend? That's nice. I've been spending the entire weekend sulking to myself because I have been officially betrayed by Walt Disney Pictures. I mean, what do you expect from a guy who had to watch Artemis Fowl the movie? It could have been worse. I could have went outside and had the risk of catching the virus, but I decided to stay inside and watch Artemis Fowl the movie. The movie I have been waiting 10 plus years, as well as my father, may I add, to see. And my goodness, I've never felt more betrayed in my life. Like, never have I felt so betrayed in my life. So that's out of the way so far. I also want to announce here that at 9 p.m. tonight we'll be doing our interview with Tonjia Atomic, director of Manos Returns. So stay tuned for that. Until then, I'm just going to be sitting here talking to you about how disappointed I am. I waited 10 plus years for this movie, and what I got was just the biggest mishmash of disappointment I've ever seen in my life. What did you need to do? What did you need to do? Like, Kenneth Branagh. You guys know who you guys know who Kenneth Branagh is, right?
Yeah, he did a version of Hamlet, I think.
He was also the guy who directed Thor.
And he was Miguel in the Road to El Dorado movie.
Yes. Really?
Yeah, he was. He was Miguel.
Okay, so Kenneth Branagh, he did the movie Thor.
The one in the red shirt.
And the thing was that the thing about his films is that I admire is just so much about how large they are, how big the environments are, and how beautiful it is. He's a good director. And the fact that he produced this, directed it, just, I don't even know. I don't even know what to say. I feel absolutely betrayed right now. And I'm not the only one. My dad, okay, so here's the deal. My dad heard about this being a bad movie before we went to see it, and I knew it was probably going to be one. Like, here's the deal. You've seen the first trailer, right?
Yeah.
It was the one where, hold on, I got to make sure everything's doing good.
Yeah, I saw the first trailer. I was not encouraged.
Sorry, I'm gonna miss. I had to make sure everything is good. Oh yes. So no, here's the thing. The first trailer was good. It shows the. You've read the first book, right?
Yeah.
Have you read?
I've read most of the books.
Yes, I've only read the first books. My dad saw them all, and when we saw the first trailer, we were excited. We were very excited. Mm-hmm. It clearly shows the opening scene that takes place in Saigon.
Mm-hmm.
You know the one, right? Where they're in like where they're in like Saigon. They're trying to get the journal from the ferry for the potion or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And
I had forgotten about that scene in the book.
So it shows that opening. It shows the ferry in Saigon, the abandoned house and everything. Here's how you know it was here. Like, that scene in the movie, despite it clearly being shown in the trailer, is not in the movie.
That is strange.
The opening scene that basically defines what kind of person Artemis Fowl is, as well as Butler, may I add, or is gone. It's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there was just like, when my dad was watching this, literally after the first 5 minutes, he's just sitting there shaking his head. Like, you guys gotta understand, we waited 15 years for this movie. We waited 15 goddamn years for this movie. Like, there was a time, if you remember, when did Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone come out? 2000?
I think it was like 2002.
Yeah, in 2002, around that time, there was a boom in adaptations. Like, Harry Potter was out, Lord of the Rings was coming out, like, all of these cool adaptations were coming out.
And fantasy adaptations.
Yeah, fantasy and everything like that. But the thing was, like, this would have been perfect. This would have been perfect for the time for Artemis Fowl to come out. Mm-hmm. It would have been perfect.
I wonder, Artemis Fowl was, when was that published?
Well, here's the thing.
Books, I think.
Well, here's what goes on, okay? Like, the movie rights were given to Miramax in 2001.
Yeah, that's when the first book was published.
Yeah, the Miramax got the film rights when it became huge in 2001. Throughout all these years, there have been like several like rewrites, scripts. This thing was in like absolute production chaos. It's kind of like that one movie that everybody likes, but it's really not good. Little Nemo.
Yeah.
No, like everybody was producing this. Even Robert De Niro was a producer at one point, from what I heard.
Whew.
And now here we are with at this moment, like, how do I even describe? Okay, I'm gonna be giving some whatever spoilers. If you haven't read the books, you can read them. There's also a graphic novel series. This thing has a huge fan base, and as we were waiting for this, we were hoping this would become a series. Okay, first of all, the movie itself opens up Artemis is learning about the fairies from his father, who disappears and is being kidnapped by some guy who wants this thing called the Oculus or whatever. I'm looking at my dad. I'm like, who the hell is this? Is this guy like in the other books? He's like, no, he is not. That's my knowledge. He hasn't. He probably is. I don't even know what the Oculus.
Isn't it Opal Cowboy?
Huh?
Opal Cowboy, or is that another character? Because I haven't seen the movie, but I have read the books.
I have no goddamn idea how his
name is. You said it was Opal
Cowboy.
So
and they are in the sequel books. I think they took events from the.
I don't know who his name was. He was like this guy who had this weird voice. He was holding Artemis's his father hostage for this Oculus thing. Right. I don't know what the deal with that was.
I think they were combining the events of the first book and the second book. Which, I mean, when you do that in a movie adaptation, you don't have enough time to
that's the thing. They
go into it.
That's the thing. They didn't do it though. They didn't do it. Okay. I always ask my dad, like, is this in the Arctic incident or like the Eternity Code or something? He's like, I have no idea.
But it has been a long time since I've read the books, but I'm pretty sure that kind of stuff doesn't happen in the first book.
So apparently, just to get the thing out of the way about them making Butler black, at this point I don't really care about that. I just want Butler to be Butler. Yeah.
If he's the same character and like his personality and everything and his abilities, I mean, Butler's a badass.
He doesn't do
whatever color he is.
He didn't really do anything badass worthy though. That was my problem. Yeah.
In the book he's badass.
Like the thing was like he's not even called Butler in the movie.
Really?
He's called Dom.
That's weird.
And apparently he'll kill anybody who refers to him as the butler or something like that. So here's what goes on. Artemis's father disappears and Artemis has no idea what's going on. Butler shows him his father's secret underground lab. You know, the lab in the book that Artemis built out of his own intelligence. Also, his mom's not in the book. I mean, in the movie, she's dead. And she kind of...
Oh, actually, in the books, the butler's first name is Domovoy, so it kind of makes sense he's called Dom, if it's Domovoy.
Who cares? We know him as Butler.
Yeah, it's Butler. Nobody calls him Dom.
Yeah, like, he's known as Butler.
Your first name is Domovoy? He's Butler.
I mean, yeah, like, the other things that was crazy about this is just, like, I could go on and on about how bad this movie was. I can go all fucking night. Just, like... Butler shows Artemis this underground laboratory. Artemis has never seen it before. In the book, he has this laboratory and he built it himself.
Yeah.
His mom's not in the movie either, and she plays a massive part in the first one.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm just gonna go on what else is there. Like Artemis, it opens up with him surfing. Okay, and like it's clearly not even him.
It's like in Ireland.
He was in Ireland. It was in Ireland, yeah.
That's what you do in Ireland. It's the pastime.
Yeah, Artemis is smiling. I'm like, Artemis Fowl doesn't smile? What the hell is going on? He has like a bedroom. He has like Legos in there. It's crazy. Like freaking everything. Just like he's in school. He's not supposed to be in school. Like he's just done incredibly wrong. He is not done right, period.
It's like he's Artemis in name only.
Yeah, it's like his dad. Anyway, like moving on from there, like he's just trying to get the fairy in the book. If I recall, he was trying to get gold for like something. I don't remember what it was, but now in this one, he's trying to get the Oculus, and I guess he mentions gold at one point. But
yeah,
let's talk about
that's his main motivation, gold, in the first book. But then like other things happen.
Juliet's also in the movie.
Yeah,
that's it. She's just there. She doesn't do jack shit. I mean, she doesn't even have the jade.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't
remember who Juliet was?
Juliet was Butler's daughter.
Oh yeah.
Or sister.
She doesn't come up in the first book, does she?
She is. She's the servant to Mrs. Fowl.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so like going on from here, she freaking. If my parents weren't in this house right now, I'd be fucking yelling right now. like, she's just in the movie at one point. I don't even remember if she even added anything. But no, let's
think she made a sandwich? According to the pitch meeting.
At one point, like, the thing was that, like, it was even worse because, like, I'm trying to think of something else here. Let's talk about the LEP Recon unit, the New Haven Ferry military. All right. Yeah. Captain Holly Short is there, and I think she was done pretty well, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: what separated Captain Holly Short from the rest of the troops in the LEP Recon unit? No, I'm asking you. What was it?
Me. Well, I actually forget. Like, because it's been so long since I read the book, I need to look back and it's like, what was it that made her distinct?
Here's a hint. Here's a hint. Judi Dench plays Commander Root.
Yeah, I remember that. Like, from what I remember in the books, the Commander Root was a male captain, wasn't he?
Yes, but Yes, but the main thing was Holly Short. Captain Holly Short was the only female in the LEP Recon unit. That's kind of like what kind of stood her out from the rest, and also basically just separated her out there. She was messed with.
Yeah.
Because, oh, by the way, in the movie she has an iPod.
Oh. Okay. It's not even a fairy version of an iPod. It's a human
I don't
iPod?
even know what it is. Like, it gets jacked by Mulch Diggums. I'm gonna get to him in a couple of moments. Don't worry. First of all, for those joining us right now, thank you. Welcome to another Nerdy Talk Show. We will be interviewing Tonjia Atomic at 9 p.m. in about, I don't know, like 18 minutes or 48 minutes. Anyway.
Yeah, 48.
So, like, she's in there and she's just being bossed around by Judi Dench, who's playing Commander Root. Foley was there and he was pretty good. I can't deny Foley was pretty good. He was the Centaur.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, but yeah, Mulch Diggums. Oh my God, Mulch Diggums. What did they do to you? Like, really?
I mean, they have him unhinging his jaw and, like, getting dirt, like, straight through.
It comes in the mouth, goes out the ass.
Because that's what happens in the book.
Yeah, it comes in the mouth, goes out his ass. In the movie, he's a criminal trying to help him get Holly out, if I'm not mistaken. I apologize, I haven't read the book in a while.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And, like, from what I remember, like, in the movie, he's just trying to find something, and he's trying to get in and get her out, but then he goes into a safe for some reason and gets the Oculus. I don't know what the hell is going on. Like, the story is botched up.
I mean, he is a kleptomaniac, so he will steal things for any reason.
I know, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, and what happens to Mulch at the end of book 1? What happens to him that you remember?
I can't tell you, honestly.
How he escapes?
It's been so long.
How he escaped?
He escapes, I mean, through the usual method, or...
How did Mulch Diggums escape?
I don't remember. I would assume he dug, but that's probably the wrong answer.
Kind of. He kills a rabbit and attaches his tracking device on there and gets away.
Oh,
in this movie, he's teaming up with Artemis Fowl and Holly to, like, fend off, to, like, do something. I don't know what's going on. Like, I literally don't remember what's going on. I will be fair and say the movie did have some good parts. Like, I do like the new, like, technology methods they came up with. Like, the weapon they have in there, which is, like, this interchangeable handgun that can turn into, like, a sword, bow and arrow blaster. It's pretty cool. New Haven looked okay. And the only thing that was good was the middle, when it shows the part where they're with the battle outside of Foul Manor.
Yeah.
Aside that, there's nothing good about it. There's just nothing. All they had to do was just do the first book.
Yeah, not try and cram everything in, or like mix characters up. Is like, oh, here's their motivation. Oh no, wait, they have to be friends with Artemis in order for this thing to happen.
Even Artemis doesn't even look like the same. He's supposed to be a 12-year-old criminal mastermind super genius who has, like, pale skin. Skin looks like he hasn't slept in days, but no, he looks fine. I feel bad for the kid too. This was his first film. He was kind of like Artemis at some points, but in the beginning he was like just nut.
Yeah, he was just like a normal kid. I mean, fair enough. Like, I don't know that Disney would be comfortable with having a main character that wasn't a good guy and he's like a criminal mastermind. I mean, how would that make Disney look?
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah,
And they're going to
I
keep
mean,
doing
he's
Deadpool
an
too. So
yeah, but I mean, it's not Disney front and center. And like
yeah,
Pirates of the Caribbean, that's based on an existing property that's like, and everybody's an adult. Everybody's a pirate. You would expect them to be a bad guy. Artemis is a 12-year-old boy, so he's not exactly a pirate.
I'm pretty sure
But I mean,
they've done things where the kids were the bad guys, but like still
yeah,
they do acknowledge that in the movie. Like at the end, Artemis's last line is, "My name is Artemis Fowl, criminal mastermind." Right,
yeah,
and then he does this short walk out there. Mulch Diggums is the guy who's narrating everything. May I add?
yeah.
Like he gets captured by the FBI or something, and Artemis breaks him out at the end. It's like crazy. Like I remember when I was in high school. Okay, I remember when I was in high school, and I remember I had to do a project where I had to come up with a soundtrack for a movie, and for a book that I read. So I chose to reread the first book. And I remember my English teacher looked at me and said, "Yeah, that basically deserves a movie." I'm not even kidding. This was a true incident, and I had to go around and come up with these tracks. I read through the book. I did all this stuff. It was like nuts, and like,
Wow.
Vici, I like was expecting all this action and everything.
That's a pretty cool project.
It was writing, so you know. Thing was that like I didn't even know how to feel. I really did not know how to feel.
Yeah.
Like I was going in there knowing it was bad. I knew it was gonna be bad, or pretty much available. I was expecting something. I wanted to see something close to the book, kind of like with the first series of Unfortunate Events movie.
Yeah. The Netflix series did very well, though.
Well, yeah, the Netflix series did good, but like the thing was that like in the movie they at least stayed faithful to the books.
Yeah.
Books they added
for the most part. I mean, they mixed up some things. Yeah.
They took some liberties, but like at the same time, like they still told the story as it was told, and like this just didn't. This had like mainly elements like. Again, there were scenes in the trailers that didn't even happen in the movie. It was like crazy.
It's like, so what if we learned at the end of the movie? What was the message? What generally
There was
happened?
no message.
Yeah.
Then again, I don't even remember what
Artemis is a criminal mastermind. There you go.
Like, I don't even know if the book had really much of a message either, honestly. I can't really recall.
But I mean, I think it had something to do with, okay, here's a criminal mastermind. He's trying to get gold. He's greedy. Here's Holly and like the whole.
Well, he's not greedy. He's doing it for a cause, from what I remember. It was either gold or magic. For some reason. Tell.
Yeah. Like to rescue his dad for some reason.
No, it was like something with his mom. I don't remember much. It was like crazy.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
But yeah.
So betrayed.
It's like one of those books. Like I know that I remember was really good, and like I want to at some point revisit it and like see it through the minds of an adult.
Like really, like this is the third time Disney has tried to do an adaptation and has failed. Yeah, with the first ones being, other two being John Carter and Percy Jackson. I know they're doing a remake of in a series form on Disney.
Disney did Percy Jackson?
What?
Disney did Percy Jackson?
I believe they did. Yeah, I am not. They're doing an adaptation of it on the on Disney Plus in like a series format.
Didn't they also do A Wrinkle in Time?
I have no idea.
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, I don't really have any interest in seeing it.
Yeah.
Like I said, I went into this movie knowing it was going to be bad. I knew it was going to be bad. My problem was just that I wanted something close to the book. I just wanted that.
Yeah.
But no, my dad and I just gave up. Like I wanted to sob in the middle of the movie. Like I said, I've been waiting longer than you could possibly imagine for this movie to be made. Like, I can't even blame the Walt Disney Company for this because of how much hell it went through in production. Like, I really can't.
Yeah. It's just the execution, how it all came together. It's a disappointment.
I could spend this entire stream talking about, like, I could bring my father in here. We would like, take out this stream and, like, talk more and more about how bad this movie was.
Yeah.
Like, a day later, I was trying to bike and I just couldn't even get out of my mind about how upset and betrayed I felt.
Well, if you ever end up reading the Inkheart books, don't watch the movie.
Yeah.
I had no interest.
The
Yeah.
books are great, and the casting for the movie was pretty good, especially the guy who does like the fire eating and shit.
Yeah.
It was the dude who played Vision in
Oh, James
Avenger.
McAvoy?
No, Vision in the
Oh.
Avengers movies.
Oh, okay. I was thinking of something completely
And
different.
Chaucer in A Knight's Tale. What's his name?
Keep forgetting his name. I'm not good with names. I play that on the ADHD. What I'm trying to basically say here, people, is that if you're going into this movie if you're going into the movie a fan of the book, I'm not going to be able to say that this is going to be the best thing you're ever going to see on stream. Like, if by all means they took parts of the book and just sewed it together, made a collage, and just made a movie out of that.
Yeah.
Paul Bettany.
People that are not fans of the book. Well, I watched that with my stepmom, who hasn't read the books, and even she thought it was not a good movie.
Yeah. It's like, if it's not a good movie on its own merits, and like, what in the world?
I don't know
who
what
is it
else to
for?
say about it. I really don't know what else to say about this. I really don't even want to talk about it anymore. I really just want to pretend it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Like,
how about on like a different subject? We can move on to
Maybe
like
their
some
rights
good
were
ones.
about to expire, so like we better spit this out so we can hold on to the rights.
well, I don't know what was going on with that. I mean, like, I know like I said, there was in kind of a production hell for a long time, where it was going to be just crazy with the whole thing going on at the moment. Just what's been they were doing.
Yeah. Because that's why Universal made the sequel to The Car, so they could hold on to the rights, and the sequel was
The car.
garbage compared to the
Wait,
original.
the car.
The
What-
car.
1970s movie about a car that's possessed by Satan running through this like Arizona town or something, running people over.
Is it
Yeah.
like,
And
isn't that movie about the killer tire?
No,
No.
that's Rubber,
That's
which
Rubber.
might be a spiritual sequel, but
in my
like,
headcanon it is.
yeah, but the car is something completely different. It's a whole
Yeah. car
rather than just a tire. I mean, the tire might be from the car, but the car is a whole thing.
Came out in 1977, had, what's his name?
James
James Brolin was in
Brolin.
it. Thanos'
James Brolin.
dad.
Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah.
Is it? I thought it was Joshua Brolin. No, it is James.
Yeah, Josh Brolin is Thanos.
Josh-
It's
Yeah.
Thanos' dad who's the main character.
Oh,
Yeah, Cable's dad.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Oh my god.
So yeah.
that was
a
the thing,
made-for-TV horror movie, and it was actually pretty decent. for
And the car
1977.
itself-
The car itself is gorgeous.
Yeah.
I actually have been starting to rewatch all the Marvel movies in my spare time because I've been running out of shit to watch.
Yeah.
What's funny about the car is there's an episode of Futurama where Bender gets bit by a were
Oh
car.
yeah, I love
Yeah.
that episode.
The were car is made to look like Christine from the Stephen King book and movie. Bender ends up looking like the car from the 1977 movie.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Which came first, the car or Christine?
The car came before Christine, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
So,
So, like,
yeah.
you think Stephen King was inspired to make a story about a killer car?
So yeah, that's what happened there.
Yeah.
Bottom line is I'm just gonna make this my mission and never tell if anybody brings up Artemis Fowl, just never on the stream, just try and stop the conversation at all costs. I beg of you.
Yeah.
Yep, the car came first.
Oh, okay.
Congratulations to Charlie St. Cloud for no longer being the worst thing I've ever seen. Anyway,
I have not seen Charlie St. Cloud.
yeah,
but I
stay
know it
away
has
from that
fun.
movie as well. I remember when I had to see it. I wanted to see Inception. My sister wanted us to see Charlie St. Cloud, so my mom gave in and we saw Charlie St. Cloud. We spent the entire after the movie. We drove home, middle of the night. Nobody spoke. Everybody was mad. My sister kept apologizing to us. That's the entire.
Aw.
That's a real story. I'm not even kidding.
Yeah.
So Artemis Fowl is now the worst movie you've ever seen?
Basically. Anyway.
Even worse than that other one I had you watch?
What, Meet the Feebles? I didn't think the thing with Meet the Feebles is I saw that movie before we watched there. I was sitting in my bed. I had a headache. I just got out of dinner. I'm like, I just gotta see whatever to get this off my mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen a lot of movies with gross out humor, but this was just my god. I mean, this is just too on the nose for me. That was clearly glimming in 1980s kind of cheese.
But at least it has a catchy theme song.
Yeah, basically it does.
And
Watch
after
at
the
your
open-
own risk, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Warning. The opening sequence is very Muppets show-ish, and then it's all downhill from there.
Yeah.
The opening
Yeah.
sequence is the best part of the movie.
Yeah.
And this is a movie that Peter Jackson directed, the guy who gave us Lord of the Rings, and this is one of the most vile things you will ever watch.
Yeah.
next to movie 43.
Oh my god, freaking Cruiser. Cruiser's been telling me about movie 43. I still need to see that movie.
Find the British version; it's better.
The British version of the movie.
Well, they all have the same vignettes, but there's in between pieces where it's like why they're watching it, and the British version has different things between the vignettes, and it's far better.
Yeah,
than
it's
the
like one of those things. It's just like, excuse me. The thing with that is like, I've seen a lot of stuff like that. It's just like I haven't seen movie 43. Like Cruiser's been one. I remember when Cruiser stopped watching Nostalgia Critic, he just said, I'm only going to watch it again if he does one. The only review I'll watch is if he does one of movie 43. So he did when I sent it to Cruiser. I'm like, okay, wish granted. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the American version, it's a guy at a movie studio doing like pitch meeting. The British version, it's a couple kids trying to find the worst video on the internet.
Yeah.
It does recontextualize things.
It does.
Yeah, it does. It's like one of those things that's just like out there, if you know what I'm saying.
Hugh Jackman with testicles hanging off of his chin.
Very glorious.
And it is Hugh Jackman, not somebody who looks like him. It is Hugh Jackman.
Like when I was watching.
Is it like makeup?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he has like the Peter Griffin chin.
Okay.
Anyway, like the thing
Except
was,
for it's actually full on dangling, like the Balchinian Men in Black.
When I saw him, when I was watching Meet the Feebles, I'm like, I feel like I'm watching that porno that every mainstream celebrity was in before they became a big like 5-star like A-list actor.
Yeah.
You know, like something Stallone did or like
that.
Schwarzenegger or something like that.
Yeah. It's so weird. I mean, I remember when he showed me Meet the Feebles for the first time, and he's like, "You want to stop watching?" He's like, "No, I'm curious. I want to see how it ends."
Yeah, we got to the walrus and the cat part right after the opening sequence.
Yeah.
No spoilers.
Yeah,
And I'm like, okay, so you want to stop now? She's like, no, it can't get any worse than this. I'm like, okay.
Oh my god.
10 minutes later, I asked her again. She's like, no, I want to keep going. I'm like,
There was just so much in that movie that didn't make sense. Like they're trying to get the cocaine from people, and then there's like a spider that comes out of nowhere, and then there's like it's just like all over the place.
the knife throwing gecko with heroin addiction and Vietnam flashbacks.
God, that scene.
Just,
The rabbit who's just banging all the other rabbits and gets an STD and his face starts to melt.
Yeah, it was just like.
It is not G-rated, folks. This is
No,
like
it is.
high R.
It is very
It
hard.
deserves
R.
the R.
Oh my god.
And yet, if you go to its Rotten Tomatoes rating, it's far higher than you would think it would be.
Yeah, basically.
Oh, did you go look at that too?
Yeah, it was like 70%.
Yeah, and it's like, why? How?
I don't understand.
No. And the audience rating was pretty high too.
That's some sickos.
Well, then again, the critic rate, the low rate. I like the movie Saw, and yet the critic rating for that is like very low. So there you go.
The thing I thought was great about Saw is it was a horror, torture porn kind of movie, but it had a moral.
If I wasn't gonna say it, you were.
It had a moral.
Yeah.
Like treasure your life, be grateful for what you have, and it's like, why? And the fact that it was Carrie Elwes, I was like, I didn't realize that until the very end. I'm like, wait, what?
Gary L was doing like that god awful American accent.
Yeah.
And it's like either he was wearing a fat suit or he just put on a lot of weight. And it was rough. But then the next thing I saw him and I couldn't remember what it was, he looked normal again. I was like, okay, it might have been Psych because he guest starred on Psych several times.
Oh my god, I remember when the Saw series was coming out, there was a guy on YouTube, when the 4th movie came out, he was able to piece together the main ending of the last movie, Saw 7 3D. He was able to figure everything out. I'm like, oh my god, nice.
I do like that they all very much tied together. And like sometimes they were taking place at the same time and they just crossed over.
Oh yeah, I like
was
movies
cool.
that do that, kind of like Back to the Future and everything. Hell, me and Bright are doing a project similar to that, and
Yeah, like parallel happenings.
yeah, it's gonna
It's
be.
like I like the Final Destination movies. I like too, except for the third one. I thought the third one was garbage.
How did the roller coaster fly off the track if the guy didn't go on the coaster?
Thank you. That was my point too. Like the dude got off the track, but so his camera wouldn't have fallen off and landed across the track, and it wouldn't have broken. The only cool thing about the third one is on the DVD, like different death scenes.
Yeah, I like that.
Choose your own adventure style.
I like that.
That
concept.
was cool.
That was a good concept. It's
I liked.
It's like they filmed the movie like specifically just for that feature. It was really cool.
Yeah. Well, even the second Blair Witch movie, they filmed it that way.
Yeah.
That way, when you had if you had a VCR that could play in reverse, you'd see like hidden stuff in the movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Can you see it on a DVD?
I wouldn't be surprised if they set the DVD
Are we
up.
talking
so
about Book of
they
Shadows,
just-
Blair Witch, or something like
Yeah.
that? Oh my god, that movie was I hated that movie.
But yeah, if you can find it and the DVD does have the feature where you can play it backwards and find the hidden stuff, it's actually kind of cool.
Well, that's pretty cool. I mean, like there are scenes where they're trying to rewind a tape, but the time is going like forwards. It's like crazy.
Yeah. The DVD that freaked me out the most though was The Ring, because there was the video was hidden in the menu screen, and if you turned it on, you couldn't stop the video.
Are you serious?
It disabled the power button, it disabled the rewind, the pause, the stop.
Yeah, like
the only way to stop it would be to unplug it. So you actually had to. It made it so you had to sit there and watch the whole video unless you actually unplugged your VCR or DVD player.
yeah.
And I was just like, nope.
I've had a nightmare with something similar to that, where like I was having a dream of some kind of Beauty and the Beast type dance sequence, like Be Our Guest, and like I was trying to like tap on the VHS machine or whatever to stop it, but like it just would not stop.
Why would you want to
And,
stop
like,
that? Be Our Guest is a good song.
I don't know. I know. Like it turned weird. Like you know how like a fun happy thing can turn really creepy. So it turned creepy.
What, you mean like how like Don't Hug Me, I'm
what
Scared or something like that?
Yeah, kind of like that. So
That's a
something
great
creepy was
series, too.
happening, and then I was trying to turn it off, but it wouldn't turn off.
I love Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared.
Yeah,
And apparently they've been picked up by somebody. I don't remember if it was like Netflix or somebody else, but they're getting a series.
that whole series.
Like
The,
paid
yeah.
for.
Are you serious
series.
right now?
Yeah.
Because the whole moral of that show was television taking over series.
Yeah, I know.
That's
I think that's
very
a.
But
I
I
ironic.
still really enjoyed it though, and I wouldn't mind seeing more.
I didn't.
Yeah.
It kind of got old after the fourth one. I'm like, okay, when is it gonna happen?
The
I mean,
first-
the
first
last one
two-
was really good.
I
Yeah,
didn't
the
like
last
the
one was
computer
really good.
one. Did not like the computer one. I liked the first one. I liked the one about love because it was really creepy.
I thought it was kind of okay. I mean, the first
Dude
one was
living
good. The second one was good. The
underground.
third one was good. The fourth one with the computer was good. The one with the food was eating healthy was the weird one.
Yeah.
Like I remember people going in. I remember going to anime conventions and people were cosplaying the pad and the clock.
Whenever somebody says it, their favorite color is green or something to do with green, I say green is not a creative color.
Yeah, right. I want to see you do an entire cover of that song. I should get you. I should get you, the editor, and me doing that thing. It's like, how do you get the idea?
What's your favorite idea? Mine is being creative.
How do you get the idea?
I like to think creatively.
Oh my
I
god.
love all these like viral internet sensation videos. There was like independent like Charlie the Unicorn.
Yeah.
Funny thing
And
about,
like,
funny thing about Charlie the Unicorn. Okay, the guy who made it, Jason Steele, actually went to the college I went to.
oh yeah?
Yeah. He was he released the finale for it, but but he didn't release the entire thing. He released it like bit by bit by bit by bit. He's only released the first part.
Interesting.
Yeah,
So I know
yeah.
he was offered a deal for Charlie the Unicorn.
No, he did a
I think it was-
Kickstarter. He did a Kickstarter for Charlie the Unicorn.
And he also made the llamas with hats, right?
And there was one about death too, wasn't there?
I remember Llamas with Hats. I don't know if it was you and me and Springheart. We were in a
yeah.
chat together and we were just reenacting all the scripts.
Yeah, just like, Carl. like, what? I have a hankering for hands. I have a hunger
God,
that
I always-
only hands can
Speaking of
satisfy.
Springheart, like speaking of Springheart, you remember the llama song?
Yeah.
Here's
I
a
wa-
llama, there's a llama, and another.
I want to see if I
Funny
can
llama.
if I can take that song and animate it just for her, just to get on her.
That would be so fun.
That
She'd
song is
love it.
weird. If you listen to it on a loop, it doesn't speed up at all, but it sounds like it's speeding up.
Yeah.
Some sort of weird audio illusion. Yeah.
I gotta talk to Springheart. She needs to give me her poses for that for the project.
Yeah, that'd be so cute.
Yep.
Should do Badger too.
Badger,
Mushroom.
Badger, badger.
Oh my god.
It's another one of those great ones. Or Where Can You Find Lions? Only in Kenya.
I don't know that one.
This is by the same people who did Badger.
Oh, okay.
Or do a parody of Badger, but it'd be like Huffle, 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 Huffle.
God, you ever notice?
Gryffindor.
You ever notice when you like see that movie, like The Sorting Hat, when he sends that student to like the first to like Hufflepuff, he's like, "I know what to do with you, Hufflepuff." I'm sorry. Like you just downed an entire thing of gin before he said that.
Oh no. I don't know. Just no. Which video are you talking about?
No, it was it's in the movie, the first movie,
Oh, okay.
when they're at the Sorting Hat.
The first movie where Neville looked awkward as hell. The last movie where Neville made puberty his bitch.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was he in the second movie? I can't remember.
I don't
Neville,
remember,
he
but like
was.
I remember like at first he just looked really awkward, and then like he by the end he's like all chiseled and studly. It's like, wait, what? Same? Is it the same actor? It's the same actor.
It's the same actor.
I've met him in real life.
Damn.
He's a nice dude.
Yeah.
I've heard that. Yeah.
Yeah, he lives in
He
Florida.
was also in a movie called like Me with You or something. It was a movie where like the plot was a woman takes care of this guy who's in a wheelchair and like he dies at the end. Spoilers. But they become like they fall in love.
Spoilers before the spoiler.
Jeez.
Me Before You.
Oh my god.
That was the movie.
I haven't seen that movie. Like one movie I've been trying to track down that I haven't seen was Driving Miss Daisy.
Oh yeah.
With
Morgan Freeman.
and what's her face? I can't remember her name.
I don't remember her name.
I can never
either.
remember like older actors' names.
Yeah.
There's a movie from 2007 that I've been trying to track down called The Belly of the Beast. No, not the one with Steven Seagal. It was directed by Corbin Timbrook, same guy who did I think, Ski Patrol. And it was a horror movie, and it was filmed in this area, and I was an extra in it. And there was
Really?
a scene where, it's through a nightclub, and the camera is going through the bad guy's point of view, and it passes like directly in front of my face, looking at me like that. So I was full on screen. IMDb says it came out in 2007. I haven't been able to
God,
find
this
it.
is crazy. I mean, my stepmom was an extra in the third Jaws movie.
Ooh.
Huh?
Yeah, she was an extra in the third Jaws movie.
Oh, wow.
I mean, Cruiser I think was an extra in a Trauma movie. I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and that was an extra in Hoot.
Yeah, in the movie Hoot.
Wait, who was?
Like based on a book.
Who was?
Me and my sister, when we were 14, we were extras in this movie called Hoot.
Oh,
which
I
is
read that
based
book.
on a book.
I've read that book. It's a good book.
Really? Okay, so we were like in the scene where the boy's like standing up in front of the like pancake house opening, and he's like, "No, you can't build here because there's baby owls, burrowing owls."
Yeah.
And so we're like in that crowd of like, "We want our pancakes."
You gotta show me that
We
scene.
got Robert Wagner's autograph.
I want you to send me that scene and just like
Yeah.
when I read that book, even as a kid, I was like, why don't they just move the owls? Just like move them somewhere to like.
I mean, that would make sense because like moving owls, they could get displaced and like they could die.
Then
maybe.
take them. Then call like I don't know.
Bird sanctuary.
There's a bird sanctuary. It takes place in Florida. How many bird sanctuaries are there in Florida? Okay, I guess bright idea kind of disconnected on me. How lovely. Hoot I never saw the Hoot movie, so yeah. Oh my gosh. 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 So, while we're waiting for them to reconnect, how are you guys doing tonight? That's good. I've been getting called back. I'm gonna be going back to work soon, so yeah, that's what's going on. It's a good thing too, because I can't stop trying to eat this beard. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that like a lot of shit goes on. Yeah, Annette just messaged me saying she had some Wi-Fi issues. So, Manos Returns. I saw the movie. I thought it was a good movie. I saw it twice, actually. I was in my pool and I saw it. And Tonjia Atomic, Cruiser got a hold of her. And we've been playing this interview for about 2 months. It's really cool that we're going to be seeing her. And, you know, it's a good experience, like, getting to talk to these people here. And, you know, oh, look, she's back. How nice. So, yeah. Okay, there we go.
I apologize. Wi-Fi issues got in the way.
You
Sorry,
blew
I
it.
couldn't get
You blew it. Anyway.
I know.
So
Anyway.
bird sanctuary.
Yeah.
Going bottom line, there's a lot of bird sanctuaries in Florida.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, the Pancake Restaurant didn't have its proper permits.
Yeah, we did a charity for the bird sanctuaries at Rocky at one point, like during the BP oil spill.
Oh.
We had an oil spill beach night.
Wow.
It was our theme night, and people came in with fake oil on their skin, and all the proceeds that night went to the local bird sanctuary.
Wow.
Anyway, so yes. Manos Returns. We're just gonna get a little bit into that. Like I saw when the movie was originally on tour. I was talking to my buddy Higgins, who's a Manos fan, a macho Manos fan.
Macho Manos fan. I want to be a Manos fan.
Anyway, he was telling me that he actually missed his chance to see it because it was like right around his neighborhood at the time in Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
And when we saw it, he didn't see it, but it was still he still wish he did. Like it was on tour at the time, and Amazon, and when we heard it was on Amazon after the COVID thing, like I jumped on it as fast as possible. There was Manos, the Hands of Fate. That I think Hands of Felt was online as well, but I didn't really see it yet. Which is
I still need to see that, the puppet version.
Hands of Felt, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like one of those things that I had to see. I never thought I was gonna get to see. Kind of like the remake of Criminally Insane, but like it was. I'm glad I finally got to see it all the way through, and it was good. It was like basically made by the fans for the fans. It was like an Abbott and Costello kind of meet Manos thing.
Yeah.
And it was just it was a blast. I've seen it twice already. It was a good thing. I like how they brought back some of the older characters and everything like that. It was good.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be a big time talking about talking to Tonjia here, asking about her history with the production. I mean, if you don't remember, we did an interview with Jackie Neiman, who was Debbie in the original film, and yeah. And look at that, the guys, and look at that, friggin' Frank over there is dressed as Torgo. That's just beautiful.
It was really fun watching Manos Returns another time, knowing what was gonna happen, and like remembering interviewing Jackie and everything, and just thinking how much went into the sequel that came like 50 years after its original source.
Yeah, it's like crazy there. I mean, like
60? Oh yeah.
60, yeah.
I can't. I mean.
66. So yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just been
54 years, I guess.
54 years, 1970s, I think it was. I don't know.
Manos was
66.
Yeah, 66.
66. Yeah, sorry. I'm not good with years and names, as you can clearly see. I am not the best film expert out there.
And then Manos Returns was released in 2017, 51 years after.
Yeah, it was on. Like I said, it was on tour for a short time, and I didn't get the chance to see it. So yes, Cruiser was able to get us in there. She was able to contact the director. I don't know how he gets so lucky all the time, but I will say, for the fact of that matter, is just gonna be crazy. I also want to thank anybody who who emailed us questions to submit. Can't see that. And it's gonna be a big time. It really is gonna be a good time. So we'll be with her in a couple of moments there, just waiting for my buddy to give me the go ahead. And yeah. So, yes. Don't know how to segue from that. Anyway.
Yeah. I wonder, how she got the name Atomic. Like, is it that a family name, or did she choose it?
I don't know. Ask her.
Yeah. Like, that's one of the questions I gotta remember.
Aside from that, she also did a couple of other films along the way. The guy who played Torgo in the film was actually in a couple of them. One of the I couldn't get a hold of any of the other movies that right now because I couldn't really get a good excuse me. I couldn't really get any copies of the movies there. One of the things I believe she said was I forget, it was like, I know the name, but if I keep saying, I'm probably gonna mistake it and call it Sorority Row, so I'm going to look this up. Yeah, so she did a lot of stuff. She's done a couple of short films here. She actually was in the movie as well. Yeah, she played one of the masters.
Yeah, I remember seeing in the end credits, like seeing the master's wives, and like she was on the far right of the lineup.
Where the heck is that? Again, I apologize if I have to look it up now. I did research this. I just couldn't remember the names offhand because I'm too excited. The haunted. She did Plain Devil, Walking in Elias, the haunted house of Sorority on Sorority Row. I was close. The haunted house on Sorority Row. Hobo with a Trash Can. I believe that was the movie that the guy who played Torgo was in. If I'm not mistaken. I might be wrong. I apologize if I am. And they look pretty good, like good stuff. I've heard really good things about it, especially Haunted House on Sorority Row, from what I've heard. Another thing, I like seeing people like come out and make these kind of stuff there with the big budgets. I believe the movie was also I could be wrong or not, but I believe it was kickstarted.
It could have been crowdfunded.
It probably was. I think I remember them making promos for it.
For Manos Returns?
Manos Returns?
Yeah.
I mean, it might have been.
They said Kickstarter backers on in the credits.
Yeah, we had fun reading a whole bunch of the names of people who gave to the movie. I love doing that in movie credits in general, just finding the fun names to read.
Yeah, try that.
Although when you go with Kickstarter backers, then they really have fun names.
Yeah, see what happened in Mystery Science Theater and Mighty No. 9, which has a 4-hour credit scroll.
What?
Yeah, the Mighty No. 9, that bad Mega Man successor, apparently was a Kickstarter program, and they acknowledged every backer, and the credits are like 4 hours long. It's crazy.
That is weird. I mean, how long is the actual thing if the credits is 4 hours?
No, I didn't play that game. I don't know my Capcom things. I mean, Mystery Science Theater, when they did their Kickstarter, they divided it amongst the movies credits. Like they did some on one, some on the other. It's like crazy. I don't even know.
Also, we found out that Jackie Neiman Jones has a 4 degrees of separation from Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, we've been playing the game How Many Degrees from Kevin Bacon. There's like never more than 6.
Because Jackie Neiman was in Manos Hands of Fate with John Reynolds, who was in Red Billabong with Felix Williamson, who was in Peter Rabbit with Rose Byrne, who was in X-Men First Class with Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
Oh my god. It's like when you look back there and you realize like it's like
when you is
it like one of those things where you like look back and you realize like, you know, Don Bluth is like related to Mitt Romney or something like that?
I mean, like everybody has like some degree of separation. I don't think
just
any
about
more
every
than
actor,
6.
Yeah. Like, I even typed in one of the actors from the original Nosferatu, the silent film.
Yeah.
And they had like 4 or 5 degrees. Typed in an actor from the black and white silent film Metropolis, and they only had a few degrees of separation from Kevin Bacon.
So it just centers around Kevin Bacon, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you can replace him with anything.
Yeah,
like
you can,
Kevin
but
Bacon
the website is oracleofbacon.org, and Kevin Bacon's name is automatically in one of the boxes, and you can type any other actor's name into the second box, and it'll tell you how many degrees of separation they are from Kevin Bacon.
One thing I think is ironic is like he wasn't in the movie 6 Degrees of Separation.
Yeah, I know.
That was Kevin Smith. That was Will Smith.
So it's like if I typed in like, I don't know, Kane Hodder, it says Kane Hodder played Jason Voorhees. Jason Voorhees was in Friday the 13th. Kevin Bacon was in the first movie.
Yeah, so then there's only 2 degrees.
Charlie Chaplin.
Oh god.
Charlie Chaplin
has 3 degrees of separation from Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
Charlie Chaplin was in Brother, Can You Spare a Dime with Fred Astaire, who was in The Notorious Landlady with Jack Lemmon, who was in JFK with Kevin Bacon.
Yeah. Gee.
So Charlie Chaplin is that closely connected just by the chain of people to Kevin Bacon.
So that's where we need to kill some more time there. How about do one on Tonjia Atomic? It's Tonjia Atomic.
I tried looking, but I don't think she's like as well known enough to do that. But I mean, she would probably have
Jackie
4.
is 4, she would be 5.
Yeah.
No taken.
Well, no, because John Reynolds.
Because she's with Jackie, so if Jackie's 4, it adds 1 more degree, so she would be 5.
I don't know. I'm trying to think of another one.
She wasn't in there, so.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm trying to think of a good one. Frank Welker.
Yeah. Frank Welker. He's a voice actor, but still, he's an actor. Frank Welker.
Voice of Megatron.
Yeah. He's like 1 degree of
One.
separation.
One?
He was in Balto.
Frank Welker was in Balto with Kevin Bacon.
Yep.
So I actually personally feel like that's a 0 because I mean you are directly connected. But...
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh, how about
Lawrence Welch.
Yeah.
Lawrence Welch.
Lawrence Welch. Yeah. Well, what about after you could probably do Buster Keaton.
I'll do Buster Keaton.
Buster Keaton, yeah.
Yeah. Silent film actor. It's like if Charlie Chaplin has 4.
2.
Whoa. So Buster Keaton was in The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn with Patty
McCormack,
McCormack, who was in Frost Nixon with Kevin Bacon.
He was in Frost Nixon?
I guess. I remember seeing Frost Nixon. That was a really good one.
Trying to think of a good one here. Ozzy Osbourne.
Ooh.
Hold on, I'm looking for Errol Flynn. I'm spelling his name wrong.
Oh, Errol is with E-R-R.
E-R-R.
Errol Flynn.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, Errol Flynn has 2 degrees of separation. He The Roots of Heaven with Eddie Albert, who was in The Big Picture with Kevin Bacon.
Huh.
Okay, so what did you say?
I said Ozzy Osbourne.
Ozzy Osbourne. Okay. Ozzy. I think it's with an S. But oh well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Osbourne. Osbourne.
No.
Okay. I'm not sure.
Probably because he's not really an actor. He's only had like cameo spots, so they're probably not gonna.
He was kind of an actor. I mean, the Osbournes. Trick or Treat.
Yeah.
Trick or Treat. Well, he was a cameo in that.
Did you have the U in there?
Yeah. Ozzy Osbourne.
Okay.
Well, 2.
Yeah.
2.
He was in Austin Powers Goldmember.
With Clint Howard, who was in Apollo 13 with Kevin Bacon.
Wow.
He was in Austin Powers? Oh my god.
I don't remember. Oh no, he was like herbs. He's in the scientist in the last Austin Powers movie. I remember that.
He probably doesn't remember. I'll tell you who doesn't remember it. Ozzy Osbourne, most likely.
Yeah, maybe.
God, does he remember what he had for breakfast, honestly?
Yeah. What were you looking for?
I was going to look for Jim Varney.
Did you say Jim Varney?
Yeah. Yes.
Seeing how many degrees Jim Varney
I'm not entirely sure how to spell Varney.
Probably Varney.
Vern.
Vern. Yeah, just type
How you doing, Vern?
Yeah. I remember Ernest Scared Stupid or Scared Silly.
I've only seen the Christmas Ernest movie.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to.
I have only seen the Christmas movie.
When did Barney?
Yeah.
There it is.
2.
2 degrees of separation from Jim Varney.
Jim Varney was in the Beverly Hillbillies with Kevin Connolly, who was in Beyond All Boundaries with Kevin Bacon.
Wow. It's a fun game to play, just any person. And so, like, me and my sister are 2 degrees of separation because of the movie Hoot. Like, because Luke Wilson was in that movie, and he was also in My Dog Skip with Kevin Bacon.
Oh my god, I forgot Kevin Bacon was in that. Like, I remember I could not watch My Dog Skip without crying.
Oh. Yeah, it is very heartstring tugging.
No, let me get something. I'm gonna do something that's really interesting here.
Okay.
Shit, who was the guy who played Star-Lord in Guardians of the Galaxy?
Chris Pratt?
Oh, Chris Pratt.
Choose Chris Pratt. I gotta see if they mention Guardians of the Galaxy.
Hold on a second, I'm checking something else real quick.
Yeah. So, you wanted to see how many degrees of separation?
Yeah. We're just waiting on the signal for her to get ready, guys, ladies and gentlemen. Just stay tuned. We'll be with you in a couple of moments.
Yeah.
We are back. We have our guest here tonight, Miss Tonjia Atomic. Also, Cruiser has joined the party. And yes, Tonjia, thanks again for coming on to the show. So glad we could have you. It's first time having a director on the show to be interviewed.
I'm honored. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining.
Thanks for joining us. So let's go ahead and just get started, because obviously we all saw Manos Returns. Congratulations, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the first question we have here is, since the tone of the original is so unique, was there a real conscious effort to make the follow-up to be as similar as possible, or did the creative team try to be reminiscent but its own thing?
A little of both, which might sound weird, but honestly, we tried to capture the spirit of the first movie, the tone of the first movie, the look of the first movie. But we had some things we definitely wanted to change. Like, we wanted to bring our technical skills to the table. We wanted to amp it up and have it be something that would make sense with 50 years of change, and bring it into the modern day. And also, we made a conscious decision to bring to it the understanding that there is a fan base that comes from the riffs, like Mystery Science Theater and riff tracks, and we thought it was important not to ignore that. So that's why we added a little bit of humor in there and some references. And so, yes, we tried to tonally follow the first one, and we tried to do things that were very serious, because I know in the first one they took it very seriously. And we wanted to take the world seriously, and not, one of the things when we were writing it that we decided that we could never do is break any of the rules already established by the first film. That was really important to us, because we didn't want to have any, continuity issues or make any fans, I felt funny, when watching a sequel and being like, wait, that person did this other thing, and now they're like this other person, that doesn't make sense. Or and it just feels wrong, and we wanted to not to bring anybody out of the film. And also we felt a respect for that. As people doing a sequel, we had to respect the first one's rules.
Absolutely. Okay, Evan, go ahead.
Yeah, I could really see a lot of the whole thing, how what you said earlier about keeping it into a fan perspective and everything there. Like, every detail was great. It's everything down to the vehicle. Like, I remember in the beginning, the girl is cold in the vehicle, and they give her a jacket, and it's the same white jacket that I think Mike had in the movie.
It's the same?
I loved that detail. It was really good.
I did not catch on to that.
Yeah, it was. Same vehicle, if I'm not mistaken, as well.
Similar with the the convertible and everything.
Yeah. I mean, did they have Mustangs back then?
Yeah. It wasn't a Mustang in the original, but it was a convertible.
Okay.
Similar style kind of thing, time period.
So my question is did Jackie give any good help you out with with the film, like giving any good ideas or like setups or anything like that she what's the word I'm looking for, carried on from her experience on the first film? Like, was she able to give any good input there?
Well, Jackie was a co-writer.
Yeah.
She wrote. There were three of us. It was me and Rachel who did Hands of Felt, and Jackie, and we three co-wrote it together. So and Jackie's job was mostly to write the Dark Lodge stuff, like the events that happened in there and the dialogue that happened in there. And we kind of did that because we felt like she had the greatest connection with it, and also her dad Tom, who played the master, he originally wrote his own dialogue for the original film. So and her dad had a very close connection, and just felt like that was just basically one step removed from the original film. So we tried to do that as much as possible. She was also the art director and the set designer, and she was the head of the set decorating crew and she was the wardrobe person as well.
Oh yeah.
So and that made sense. Her mom did the wardrobes for the original film, and her dad did a lot of the props and things like that for the original film. So it just made sense, and I think it added a cohesion to the two films.
Yeah, in fact, I think she actually says something that the guy who did the score for the first film, you actually got his son for Manos Returns.
Not quite right. The guy who did the score for the original film, unfortunately, he passed away. But we have the original singer, Nikki Mathis,
Yes.
who did Love Inside the Magic Circle and Forgetting You. She re-recorded the songs,
which I have purchased.
Yeah.
I think they're so good.
Oh yeah.
That was a fantastic song.
Yeah, the updated versions I love, and she actually arranged it so it was more in her vocal range, which she felt like the original songs she wasn't exactly comfortable with the vocal ranges, so she rearranged them. And I thought they came out really great. And we almost got the original guitarist. That was one of our stretch goals for the Kickstarter, but we were not able to meet that goal. So unfortunately, we couldn't do that because we couldn't pay him. So I feel bad about that. We didn't want anyone to work without getting paid.
Oh, absolutely.
So, yeah. So that's the unfortunate thing about that. But we did get the person who oversaw all the music, who did some of the original stuff and recreated some of the like Torgo's theme, things like that. Corey Fujimori, he worked on restoring the original music for the restoration. When that came out, that Ben Soloway did. So we got him on our film to help us with that. So he was very familiar with the original score.
Okay, cool.
So you guys went the distance to make it perfectly close. So you wanted to recapture it like perfectly.
Oh yeah.
Good job.
We did a lot of work.
Okay. Annette, Cecil, go ahead.
All right. So my question is, which moments in the movie were improvised? Because I know you had a really good script, but were there moments where the actors took creative liberties and just went with a moment?
Well, most of the dialogue was pre-scripted. Mostly none of the dialogue was improvised. There were scenes that we improvised on the scene, like the bride stuff. We knew what we were gonna do, but some of that's improvised, like how the brides interact with each other, especially where there's no dialogue. A lot of that was improvised. The scene where the brides are in the hallway and they all turn around, that was something I came up with on the spot, as well as there's a scene where Clara she thinks Torgo's there and he's gone, and then a bride walks by and she sees her and follows her, and so things like that we added because we all lived separately, and we all went to film in Oregon, and I actually live in Washington, so we weren't able to be in the actual location because we filmed everything on location.
And
we weren't actually able to be at the actual locations very much before we just jumped in. So there were things that we were able to improvise based on us being in the location and me seeing opportunities for moments, like all of the ghost, the trapped souls parts. We knew we were going to have them in there. We knew who they were going to be, and we knew we were going to have them have actions. But all that stuff, I decided kind of on the fly, and a lot of them I kind of improvised how they were going to handle the action. So it's mostly the non-verbal stuff that was improvised.
That's pretty cool.
All those ghosts did really good, pantomiming everything they were doing. I could see the tennis ball in the one dude's hand.
Or the baby of the guy who was rocking.
Yeah, I could see that they were all really good at their pantomime.
Yeah.
And you'll see here that Cecil here is in cosplay for Torgo. I told them that if you guys are going to be part of this interview, then you need to actually go and watch the films, and they got hooked.
It's amazing.
Speaking of Torgo, the actor you got to play him did a fantastic job. Was he trying to imitate what the original actor was trying to do, or did he just try to make his own version?
Well, he actually had never seen the movie before.
Really?
He was a friend of mine, and Jackie was the one who ended up casting. She didn't know him. He was my friend, but Jackie was the one that ended up watching all of the auditions and then casting of course, I hoped that it would be him, but and I thought that he'd be right, but I wanted her to make the decision because I felt like she was the one who would know best. I mean, she actually knew John Reynolds and was there, so I felt like she was the one that would have the best and final say. So he watched the film, and to his credit, he took it very seriously. You know, he didn't dismiss it, and he didn't dismiss the performances, because he was trying to look at the performances beyond what the film offered, you know, beyond just the scope of the film being whatever it is. And it was, so he got cast by Jackie. I was very happy about that, although I think Torgo was the hardest to cast.
I'll bet. He's such a fan favorite.
Yeah, it had to be a certain way, and we wanted someone that was like a little bit of like a older, tireder kind of Torgo for our film.
A bit more polished too.
But and so, you know, I thought that Stephen would be good for that. And out of everybody that auditioned, he essentially was the one that Jackie thought fit the part. That's what was hard about casting. It wasn't that we had good people auditioning. It was just who fit it the best.
Yeah.
And and that ended up being Stephen. And it was my idea for him to start out being more of a caricature, more of a parody, or more like a mimicry, I guess, of John Reynolds and how he played it. But then I wanted him throughout the movie to change just slightly, very gradually throughout the movie, and just make it his own, and give him a little bit more, like the original Torgo had a lot of pathos, but I wanted him to have a little bit more depth and a little bit more like, you know, this tired, almost, I mean, not wisdom, but, you know, someone who has
lived life
through it. Yeah. And so it was my choice to have him go on, have that arc, kind of that real subtle, gradual arc. I'm not sure. Stephen at one point said that he wouldn't have played it that way had I not asked him to, but I actually don't know what he would have chose. So that's a good question that I want to ask him at some point.
Save that for the DVD release.
Yeah. But I think he did a fantastic job with what I asked him to do, and for me it worked. I think he did a fantastic job.
Absolutely.
For me, I think it worked. I was afraid of caricature and parody because it might come out too cheesy. That makes sense. And I wanted to avoid that. I wanted it to be like his own thing so that it would seem more genuine.
So basically, start off with the mimicry, but then suddenly start to be a bit different than what we saw from the first one.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I had that reaction when I first saw it. Because it seemed like, okay, this guy seemed like he studied his movement. But then as the film kind of goes on, you tend to forget that, oh, wait, this guy started out, you know, trying to mimic what he saw. So,
yeah, and that's what, and your take on it is what I was hoping for with how I did that.
Yeah,
seeing him walk out as Torgo was like watching Doctor Who right after the Doctor regenerates. You're like, no, you're not my doctor. But they're like, okay, I like it, And that's exactly what it was like for me. He's like, no.
Okay, Evan, you're up.
Oh my god. Gosh. What would you say your best memory of filming this thing was, in your opinion?
My best memory,
besides meeting the master.
that day was one of the best memories. But actually being on set, I really enjoyed working in the location of when we were inside the lodge. I really enjoyed that. The location was really cool, and everybody had this sort of creepy feeling and sort of this unworldly feeling. I really enjoyed that. I really liked, I just overall really liked how everybody cooperated and did, you know, gave it their best, and how I kept seeing that over and over. And that's like, to me, that's so wonderful. I probably enjoyed best when we got to the last couple days and we started doing the effects stuff. I remember the feeling I got where I was just like, I was like, yeah, this is what I've been waiting for. And so when we started doing the lighting change, we're when we're in the lodge, there's a lot of gels. There's like green light and red light.
I noticed that, yeah.
The lighting for this movie was really good.
Yeah.
Like, it really set the moods in every scene. Like, the part where Maggie's just looking in the mirror and singing "Row, row, row your boat." Like, it looks happy and nostalgic, but then it becomes bleary and depressing. But then back to happy. It is like the lighting had a lot to do with that.
Yeah. Yeah, that was both Jody Cole, he was our lighting designer, and then Ashley Lynch did our color correcting. And so both of their work together really made that work. And we definitely had, changing lighting schemes, and both, I have to say, both of them had a hand in making that look really good and working.
Okay, Annette, Cecil?
Yeah, you asked.
What was the process of finding the new lodge? Because obviously it's not the same place. But...
Yeah.
Well, Jackie actually found that place.
Really?
And yeah, it's about, I want to say, like 45 minutes or an hour from where she lives. And I think she knows the owner, and I don't exactly know how she found it, but she was telling us, hey, I think I found a location. And she had us come down like a couple months before we were filming to kind of look around it. And the interesting thing is, like, I mean, it had that old rundown look that we were hoping for, with the peeling wallpaper. I mean, that's all real.
Oh,
like,
wow.
We didn't have to set deck that. I mean, there were definitely things we set deck. Like we made like the altar, we did like put curtains up and things like that. But the peeling wallpaper is real.
Wow.
And,
yeah.
I got some really creepy vibes off that.
Yeah.
What's that?
You got some
really creepy vibes. The place felt like it should have been haunted or something.
Yeah.
I do think, I think it is haunted. We have set stories for sure. Like for the very first time, I didn't see this, but the very first time we got there, our PAs arrived, and then they walked in this one room, and this brick apparently flew out of the ceiling and almost
dear.
our PA, which is like a health hazard, but like it shouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
One girl, walked in. We were filming a scene, and Christina walked into the room that was supposed to be the bathroom, and all of a sudden the door was locked and she couldn't come out.
Oh no.
And and things like that. And like the Igal, who was our audio engineer, he was recording audio, and he kept hearing this like scratching noises, and he kept yelling for everybody to be quiet, and we're like, we're all quiet. And he kept like hearing, like, he said it sounded like writing, like scribbling. And only he could hear it. Just things like that kept happening.
That is creepy in a delicious way.
Yeah. I want to go on a field trip for a ghost hunt now.
Okay. Now I know that as a director, and when you're on set, there are all sorts of things that happen that will kind of like delay either a shoot or something's about to happen. What was perhaps a difficult task that you had to handle on set when you were directing this?
Well, we had a really tight shooting schedule. We had 9 days. They had set up on the first day, and then we had, like people flying in or coming in by train or driving in, and then we had to set everything up, have them do their stuff, and then they were leaving. So then we had to be done, and we had to have the next person come in, because we had, like Brian Jennings, who played the sheriff, was coming in from out of town. Diane, who was Maggie, coming in from out of town. There were people from Seattle. There were people from Portland. And that's not as far, but it's still, like a couple hours away. So we had people. There was really nobody local. Everybody was coming from out of town to shoot, and a lot of these people had a tight turnaround because there were people that had to go back to jobs or whatever. So that was really, really hard. And Rachel Jackson was also our AD, and she was scheduling everything in. And, there was a time where I would have to cut things short, like, I can't get the coverage I want because we have to be here at da time, and we have to. There's no, we don't have an option. And so, there's a point where I was like, okay, we have to alter this, get both of them in a 2-shot and do it this way, because that's the only way that we're going to be able to, get the coverage right without going over time. And so we had to adapt to things like that, the things that, like, it's not ideal, I want to do this, but we have to do this other thing. There was a location incident where someone was saying that we weren't supposed to be there at a certain time. It was a mix-up, because the person who owned it wasn't the same as the person who was staying there. And so there was I don't know if it was a communication incident or someone was not in the right mood or what was going on, but then we had to shift everything around, and we had to end up filming, for way more hours the next day, way into the night, and because we had to get certain things done before one of the actors had to leave, like, forever.
I hate when that happens.
Yeah.
Oh,
So it was mostly the really tight turnaround that was difficult. Everything else, there were things with the car as well that was a little bit difficult, because we had this really nice show car, and we were in this really small town on these gravel roads, and we didn't want to damage the car at all. I mean, everything was fine. Everything was fine. But we were like, had some tense moments where we were, concerned. We didn't want to get a dirty scratch, anything like that. So there are times where we had to be extra careful, and everybody was like on edge just to make sure that everything worked out. And so those things were probably the hardest thing, and having to do the extra long day, I think, was the worst, because I can't remember, but I think it was 14 plus hours or something.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, we weren't union. Luckily so, because we had to get it done, and everybody pitched in, everybody knew what the schedule was like and what the stakes were, and so everybody just put in all the effort, and we ended up getting it done.
Well, you got it done.
Yeah. Turned out a fine product.
Yeah.
Evan, you're up.
So you've done a lot of films throughout your life. Like I was looking up some of the stuff that you did here. So it is the Haunted House and Sorority Row thing, the what's the thing I got here? I'm trying to look up the other stuff there. He had a lot of film credits. What would you say your history in? Can you talk about your history with filmmaking?
Sure.
Yeah, you're actually rather accomplished.
Oh, thank you. Well, I did go to film school in 1999, so that was a while ago. But I didn't do 20 years of filmmaking or anything like that. That's not quite accurate. But what happened was, so I graduated a film program, and back then things were kind of different. You couldn't just, it wasn't as easy to make independent films. And I didn't know of any like independent film community, especially in the independent horror film community, anything like that. I mean, I do other stuff than horror, but that is primarily what I do. And so I kind of gave it up for a while, and I focused on music and, just my own personal life and other things. And then in 2010, actually my dad had given me a digital camera, and my husband had given me editing software. So I was like, okay, I'm going to town. I'm not going to hold back anymore. I'm seriously going to do this. And so I started in 2010. I made a short film called Companion, and that I got in a couple festivals. And from doing that, I met other people. I was able to network and meet other people, and kind of get in more involved, and really the networking helped, because then I was able to find out about more festivals. I was able to find out about more opportunities, meet other filmmakers the support too is kind of, the support is very valuable, because without that, sometimes you're not sure, you feel like you're on shaky ground, but when you have other people around you for the support, you really feel like maybe I can do this. You have other people cheering you on too. And so really I started in 2010. And that's how I got a lot of those film credits, is because I would meet other filmmakers. And I'm interested in acting as well, and doing music and doing voiceover work. And so that's how I get all the credits that I do, because I can work remotely that way.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
Honestly, you and me are a lot alike. I mean, like, I graduated film school around 2013, and I was kind of the same way. Like, right now, I work with these guys. We're trying to make an independent film ourselves, and I've been just kind of more focusing on my life. I work at the Disney parks, sort of, but like, it's still something I've been kind of in there. So yeah, I can understand where you're getting at there. Like, you got the stuff there, and by God, you're gonna use it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really interesting. Really is.
All right, Annette, Cecil.
All right, so my question: what were the numbers on the Mustang that the main characters are riding in the beginning? There's 233. It's like,
oh yeah, they're
like
the numbers on the wind chill. You mean?
Yeah. What are they? What's that about?
That's interesting because it's a show car, so those are its numbers that it uses for when it like shows. And so it's interesting because I've had other people wonder that, but that's all it is it because it is such a nice pristine car of that era. It's used as a show car.
Our theory was you like went to an antique car dealership, took it for a test drive, used it for the film, and then took it back.
Honestly, when I saw it, I thought it was the group. They just borrowed a car and they just left the
I figured it. I just figured it was intentional. I was like, okay, well, the other one has like the clipboard that gets pulled away, so maybe this is their own little purposeful thing they left in.
Yeah.
Well, it's on the the decals are on the car, and we figured, hey, if Pat owns this car, maybe this is her show car too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just a curiosity.
Okay, now one of the things that really stood out for me about the film, and spoilers out there in case anyone has not seen it, it was actually at the very ending where it's kind of hinted at perhaps maybe the sheriff is in on this.
I loved that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
Do you plan on doing anything with that, and how'd you come up with it?
That was Rachel's idea, and she came up with it kind of with the idea that like Manos has been in this area for a little while, and the spirit of Manos has sort of permeated the outside community. And we didn't want to say whether they were in on the evil aspect or not. I'm sure Rachel has an idea of whether it is or not, but we did want to point to the fact that they have an idea that it's there and have sort of become like cult followers in a way of Manos.
Yeah, I liked that.
Manos be praised.
Like, I like that concept because it kind of filled in the plot holes of the original, which was really cool.
Yeah. That I kind of want a supernatural Manos crossover now.
Oh goodness.
Like Sam and Dean just pull up to the lodge one day.
And the tour go. It's like, you can't stay here. It'll be dark soon.
Okay. Evan,
5:30.
Okay, so I don't know if I missed this in the movie, but I was talking with Cruiser here, and we were curious: was Michael ever written into the script?
Into our script?
Yeah, Michael was the father in the first one.
Right. We didn't want to have a Michael in our script because Hal Warren, who was the director of the original one, was Michael, and he passed away, and we just didn't feel right about it. And we kind of figured maybe he was one of the spirits that maybe somehow escaped, or that kind of thing, because we just didn't feel right including that character, and it just didn't feel right to us, and we didn't want to do that or take liberties with that.
Okay.
So we didn't include him. I mean, we do have a line where Maggie dismisses him.
Yeah.
And we kind of felt like that was her way of dealing with it, because she's not very good at dealing with reality in our film. And she just kind of, dismisses it because she can't think about it. But in my own personal take is that he somehow escapes, but somehow wasn't able to also bring them. That's the most positive answer for that.
I saw this picture and I'm like, are one of these guys supposed to be Michael? Whatever happened to him? Like, that's it.
Yeah. I mean, he was the caretaker of the house after Torgo, but then Torgo came back in the intervening time at some point.
Okay, Annette, Cecil.
All right.
I got one. Was the scene with the brides eating the moths a reference to the first movie's set being inundated with moths at all times?
Totally. Yeah.
Totally.
I just remember the first one, like, you could clearly see it if you pull out the moth. It's like this big on the screen. It's like, well then. Mothra. Mothra is
that was our reference for the fans. Yeah.
Awesome.
Were they real moths or were they computer generated?
No, they weren't real moths. Some of them were like puppet moths that I had made out of feathers and like little fluff ball things.
Nice.
and like pipe cleaners and stuff. So I made a few puppet moths, and then some of
They're really
them
convincing.
were oh thanks. Some of them were digitally created by Eric, our effects guy. So it was a mix.
That's good. I'm like a big
My
fan of
question
practical
is-
things.
My question is, like, when you gave direction, did you find yourself telling people to dial up their acting or tone it down more?
You know, it depended. I mean, there were moments where, certain actors who naturally were more soft-spoken, or I needed them to be a little bit more for the particular scene. I didn't really make anyone dial down too much, honestly.
Okay.
I let people just kind of be. I wanted it to feel kind of natural in a way, and I let people kind of be natural. And probably the only dial up was the wives. Or actually, no, I'm saying I didn't really dial down. Yeah, I did dial up the wives. I'd be like more, more maniacal laughter, more, blood, more whatever.
Yes.
So definitely I did that with that because I wanted the wives to be like, like they were bitter and angry and they were taking out that with each other and anyone else. And so I needed them to be sort of maniacal. And but I didn't really tone anyone down. No.
That's good. It was a good balance, good strike.
Now, let's talk about here. Go back a little bit about the Kickstarter and some of the stretch goals, because I know that two of them were at least reached. It was the Magic Circle and Diane and Brian. It seems like a lot of these are written in kind of innuendo. I'm not quite sure exactly what they mean. So, what exactly is Magic Circle, Diane and Brian, Jackie and Nikki, Master Chef? What is all this?
You mean those structural goals that were not reached, or?
What exactly were these? Because I'm not quite sure what Master Chef is, or Jackie and Nikki in Magic Circle.
Oh, I don't remember what that one was. Maybe they were going to re-record it with Jackie singing. That might be maybe.
Oh, okay. Okay, because some of these, I got the impression that some of these were going to be like DVD special features. Like, I see one of them here was supposed to be like a commentary track and a behind-the-scenes thing. So I thought perhaps maybe these were going to be like special features for whenever it gets released on DVD.
Well, yeah, he's actually created a short with Tom named the Master, where he plays the master, but he's a chef. I haven't seen it myself, but it's a short that they did.
Wow.
And it might be something, when we get the DVD, it might be something we're including, but I think we were going to include it in the Kickstarter one, but we didn't reach that goal, so we weren't able to, pay Rick for that. But if we are able to get everything aligned for when we do our DVD release, it might be on there. I just don't know. And if not, I'm sure Rick will release it on his own.
Yeah, wasn't there actually a bit of some issues trying to get this thing distributed? Because I know you guys were trying to work out distribution for a while.
we were. I mean, that happens. Like everyone I've talked to is like, oh, this is not atypical.
Really?
But we're an independent. We don't have a studio behind us or a connection that way, and so we were in talks with many different places, and we didn't want to overlap, with anyone. So we took it to certain places, or we were approached by different places. And actually, we did talk to some places at the same time, depending on who approached and whatever. But ultimately, some places change their mind with us, and sometimes we, didn't like the deal to begin with. And then there were a few places that we got close, and then something wasn't right and it fell apart. So that kept happening. And we just decided to go through, I don't know if it's like an aggregate or what, but we decided to go through a service to where they distribute your film internationally streaming. And so that's what we're doing now. We were going to make DVDs ourselves and self-distribute, but then everything with quarantine happened and places shutting down. And so we weren't even able to go forward with that, unfortunately. So we decided, hey, let's still go forward with the streaming anyway, even if we can't also do the DVDs, because this might be a good time, if people can't go out and do things, they might want to have some entertainment that's different and new coming in, especially some of the fans who have been waiting. And so we decided, let's just go ahead with streaming, even though we can't offer the DVDs. So we did that. And I mean, right now it's on Amazon Prime, and it's been picked up by a few different, I don't even know what to call it, aggregates or something, a few different places that deal with like Apple TV and Roku and stuff, like Google Play.
Oh, okay.
Streaming services?
So, yeah, different yeah, it's like the hub, and then they release them to the different channels and stuff. So we were picked up by a couple of those, and I actually don't even know what places or what actual like Roku channels or whatever that it's actually on.
We saw you on Prime, so
yeah.
But we are on Prime. Yeah, I know that we're on Amazon Prime, and it's supposed to be worldwide. Whether it's gone worldwide every market yet, I don't know. But I definitely know it's UK and USA. So, and that's, for me, I think that's the easiest place a lot of people can find it. So
yeah.
All right, Evan.
Could you tell us a little bit of your history with Manos, like how you discovered it, what kind of got into the thinking process of saying this needed a sequel, kind of thing?
Yeah.
Well, I was a fan of Mystery Science Theater I used to watch it on Comedy Central when it was originally on. I had never seen that episode. I actually discovered it because Rachel Jackson is a good friend of mine, and she did the Manos the Hands of Felt play, the puppet play, and puppet musical. It's actually a musical, and she put it on live first. So before the DVD came out, I knew about that through her, and so I decided to watch that episode because of her. And I remember when I watched it, well, one, I thought it was a little bit boring, but
do something.
But the first time I saw it, I remember seeing Tom and seeing like the robe and everything, and Tom here.
Yes.
And the robe and everything. And I remember but I remember being like, and I turned to my husband and I was like, that guy has something. Even though he seems kind of dull, like, and of course Torgo, too.
Yeah.
But I was like, that guy actually has something. Like, if he were in a different movie, or if this part was in focus, maybe
literally
I would get, there'd be something there, I'd get sucked in.
He has presence.
Yeah, especially when he puts his hands out on that robe and you see those hands dangle. I even remember there's a scene where he just immediately snaps, like, "Rise! Stop! Manos, come!"
Yeah.
Like, he normally does like the slow rise, but there's this one where he just goes, "Wait!
Yeah.
Wives!"
Yeah.
Like,
that was my first initiation, I guess, and little did I know that I would be watching that film so many times, many times since. I mean, I had no idea.
I know the feeling.
Yeah.
I actually like I know it got released on Blu-ray not too long ago. There was a Kickstarter for that, and
Really?
I sent the guy an email who did the restoration, and I go, okay, I'm not showing malice here. I'm actually genuinely curious. Why did you think this deserved a Blu-ray release? Hopefully, I'll hear back from him some point.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, that's great.
He's a friend of mine, actually, Ben.
Really?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
he had possession of the original, not negative, but the original print, I believe.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I don't quote me on that, but he had the original, I think the original print, from the company. I can't remember what they're called now, but it starts with an E. But the original company that was distributing the movie, I think they distributed it to drive-ins or whatever when it first came out.
Mhm.
And he had a bunch of their films that they were getting rid of. He had bought them, and Manos, the Hands of Fate was in there.
Whoa.
And he thought, and he is a deep film historian, like, and he's a film restorer. Like he's actually, like, that's what he does for his work right now. He hosts
Really?
for old, yeah.
That is
And,
really cool.
Yeah, and he knows all that. He has a deep well of knowledge for film restoration and film process, like actual film, not digital, but actual physical film. And yeah, so it was something he thought that he should do because he was the one who owned it. So
Glad he did it. I
Awesome.
mean,
Yeah.
Annette, Cecil?
Nice.
So we were looking online, just trying to study and ask questions, and we saw that Christopher and Christina, Jay and Nikki, actually ended up getting married. Did they meet on set, or?
No, they didn't meet on set. It's really interesting, like all the different connections. Like, sorry about that.
Yeah.
But like I was saying, how Rachel was a good friend of mine, and Rachel was friends with Jackie because she had done Hands of Felt, so they were friends before I met Jackie.
Mhm.
And I met Jackie not through Rachel. I met Jackie independently through a different friend, and actually that's how I kind of got the job, because I started becoming friends with Jackie, and she was wanting to do this sequel. She had already hired a director of photography, Joe Sherlock, who happened to also be someone that I was friends with and had worked with. So I was like, Jackie, please consider me. Here's my body of work. Also, I'm friends with the DP and also friends with your other friend, Rachel, who could vouch for me. So
Small world.
But she did take a look at my work, and, we talked, and she wanted to make sure that I had the right kind of heart for it, the right mindset, and ended up, we decided, actually the four of us became co-producers and decided to go forward, and that's how everything started. And so with Christopher and Christina, there's an interesting coincidence as well, because Christopher had met Jackie. He used to live in El Paso. He owned a home there, and Christina too. They both lived in El Paso, and they were a couple for many years before we met them. But Christopher in El Paso had met Jackie when Jackie was there for a little while. And, then Jackie left and came here, and then years passed. Christopher moved to Seattle with Christina, and Christopher met Rachel because Christopher has an interest in puppetry and has done a little bit of puppetry, and Rachel has a puppet business. So they met that way, and he offered his services as a cameraman for something, if she had any reason. And then she didn't talk to him for a while. And then when we were doing our Kickstarter, we were like, okay, let's get someone to film this. Who should we get? And she was like, oh, I met this guy who's interested in puppets, and it was Christopher. So he actually came on and did our Kickstarter video. And he was like, hey, I'd be interested in auditioning for this part. And we had a part for, one of the travelers was Jay, and we wanted him to have, Nikki, and have them have these make out scenes and stuff.
In
It just
reference to
happened
the other couple who would just like be constantly making
They were
out.
the best in the
Exactly.
film, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. For the
Yeah.
fans, yeah. But so those parts were open, and he was like, me and my fiance, or no, they weren't even actually engaged at the time. Me and my girlfriend, want to audition.
Wow.
So they auditioned. And then turns out that Christopher and Jackie had met in El Paso years ago. So
Really?
I mean, it's just one of the many stories.
It's like it was all meant to be.
Yeah.
It's like all of that came together, and it's like,
The
speaking of
will of
puppets, this is mine.
Manos.
Yay.
Homemade
Okay, now.
puppet fans.
Now, do you guys have any plans to do anything else with Manos, or do you think your time with this franchise is done?
Animated series.
Let's hope
Complete the circle. Complete the circle of Manos.
I think it would be a cool, at least visually animated.
Yeah.
series, but,
Reanimated collab. You ever seen those on YouTube where they like take all the animators and they like
Yeah.
change every single like 15
That
seconds?
that would be interesting.
That I want to see.
Yeah.
No, I actually, I don't know. I mean, like, there's like little vague talks about what if we did a sequel to the sequel, that kind of, sometimes.
Yeah.
But I think, we're actually still kind of working on promoting this one. That I feel
Mhm.
like it would be too much of a shock for anyone to actually start working on.
Yeah.
Another one. I know Jackie has other Manos. I mean, she loves to be
Yeah.
involved in
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So she's got other Manos things in the works.
And I think
she's
she's working on
doing
trading card art at the moment.
Yes, she's doing the trading card art. She's working on some kind of web series or something.
Yeah,
Chronicles of Debbie.
Yes.
The Debbie Chronicles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's some other projects too, and I know she does artwork and things. So
She's
so
very
there's-
prolific.
yes, yeah, there's other things that she's doing as far as like a movie kind of thing or anything I'm involved in. Right now, I'm just happy to promote this one. And I have other films that I'm working on. I mean, maybe down the line, I'm open to it. Maybe down the line, but it kind of feels like Manos Returns kind of feels like lightning in a bottle in a lot of ways. So I don't even know if we would be successful at trying to do another one unless it was some kind of singular story that is like just Clara's story or something, something like that.
Oh yeah.
Not
I personally had an idea for some kind of short called Manos Reincarnated, where a millennial like discovers the journal of the master, and he starts to think that he's the master reincarnated.
Oh.
but we have another movie that we're working on right now, so we'll see if something like that happens. But Evan, go ahead.
Actually, he kind of asked the question there. I'm like, what do you got next on the agenda of filmmaking right now?
I've actually just worked on a bunch of stuff that were like quarantine films, which which they've already come out. I worked on Project 88, which was the Back to the Future 2 fan remake film. That was really exciting. I did a couple films for the Roger Corman Quarantine Challenge. I just did a horror bitch boss babe, horror bitch boss like short where it's like horror girls like stab, kick and punch other girls through the videos.
Oh, is it one of those chains where like you just like punch the camera and and like
there's all horror themed, and then
I love those.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I just did Angel Food Cake of Doom. Sorry, it took me a second. Angel Food Cake of Doom, which is a short by Tiffany Warren. I just acted in. I acted in a movie called Specimen 6 that's supposed to be out in July. That's really soon. It's supposed to be out this summer. I'm not sure. I think July. But it's called Specimen 6. That was Joseph Bogley. And then I'm working on my own film that I can't talk about because I actually had to stop production because of quarantine and stuff.
Yeah.
So
that's unfortunate.
Yeah, so I'm not sure what's going to happen with that, but hopefully it'll all come back together soon. and I'm working on Jose and the Hawk, which is a buddy cop comedy that Rachel Jackson created. That's a web series.
Ooh.
So it's 2 cops. One is Jose and one is a hawk puppet. And live action plus puppets. And so I've been working on that. And then I just talked to some people today about a horror anthology that hopefully is gonna be coming up in production, I don't know, maybe next year or something. And then I also have a short 333 Illuminati with Michelle Nesk that we are working into a feature. And I think that's it. Oh, and I just finished a script with Joseph Oakley called Ryan Fielding, which is a vampire.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, I have stuff in the works for sure.
All right, Annette, Cecil, you guys are gonna have our last question here.
All right, I got a question. What was it like watching the final product once like editing was done, everything? Was there any kind of premiere type event where like everybody comes together, is like, here's the movie, let's watch it together?
There was, yeah.
What was that like?
And I watched the movie like in the editing process. You know, that we would send the film back and forth. Derek Carey was our editor, and then Joe Sherlock and I would watch it, and I watched it many more times. So I probably watched it several hundred times before it was actually done, because I had to watch every change, you know, every little edit and every moment, and then watch the whole thing and make sure it had a cohesive feel. And then I had to send it to the colorist, send it to the audio engineer. So I saw it so many times. I mean, I babied this movie from beginning to end. I really did. And so when it was finally done, that was probably, I think that was when we got it back, and the final audio mix came back. And that was when it was done. But by then I knew all the visuals. I knew everything it sounded like. It just didn't hear it like with the sweet audio yet. But so when I finally got it back, it was more like a phew, you know. I watch this 5 times a day. I can finally put it down. But we did have we had a little premiere event with anyone who could make it at Jackie's house. And we watched it there. And then we had a big premiere event at Crypticon Seattle in 2018.
Oh my gosh.
I think.
I had a friend
at
of mine who
Crypticon
missed
Seattle. And that went really well. Like the room was packed. They brought in more chairs. It was standing room.
Oh wow.
That is sweet.
And I was like, this, I guess this was the right place to do it, because it, you know, it's all horror fans, genre fans. And so we were really happy about that. And I mean, people loved it. People just enjoyed it. I mean, people you know, recited the lines with some of the little references. Clapped to every single name, and you know, just, it was so exciting. You know, my sister and her family were there, and Jackie's sister was there. Brian Jennings and his wife came out for it. Diane was able to be there.
Nice.
Steven, who played Torgo, was there. Christina was there. Danielle, who played Clara, was there. Noria, who played Pat, was there. A bunch of the brides also were able to be there. So it was really exciting. A lot of our crew were able to come, because Crypticon Seattle is in like the SeaTech area, which is between Seattle, Tacoma, and then a lot of people from Oregon who were our crew, because we did have local crew from Oregon. A lot of them were able to come up and also be at that premiere. So that was really exciting. And just to have, you know, Diane be like, this is the good one, you know, this is the good premiere.
Yeah, it sounds like it went very well.
Compared to the last
one. It made me feel good. What was that?
Compared to the first one?
Where like Jackie couldn't hear any of what the dub over voice, like, what are you saying?
Yeah, just hearing all those horrible stories, you know, that they would tell me from the original, and when the original came out, it was like, I really felt like, I mean, it's not on me to do, but I really felt like I wanted to make sure that the film was good so that they could have the opposite of that and feel kind of like a closure or a vindication moment or something. So
I think you succeeded.
Yeah, it sounds like you accomplished it. Tonjia, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure. We loved the movie. We thought it was a great, you guys actually put in a decent effort too. It wasn't just bad for the sake of being bad. You actually tried. And I think this is something that Manos fans are going to enjoy. So if anyone out there has Amazon Prime, you can find Manos Returns on there right now. It is worth it. And you actually do have like Manos merchandise for sale too, right? Like
on our Store Envy page. We will link that soon to our Manos Return page. But right now we have a Store Envy that Manos Returns with some pins and some photos.
Nice.
So definitely be sure to check that out. And where can they find you? Where can they find you on social media?
Just Tonjia Atomic, spelled Tonjia Atomic. You can just look that up. I'm on IMDb, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I have my own website, tonjiaatomic.com.
Yeah. All right, thank you again so much for joining us, and we hope to see you on the con circuit.
Thank you so much.
All right. Good night, ladies and gentlemen.
Good night. Thank you for doing it.